Designs, my ideas. You promised me I'd be given credit for them.
All right, Marion, but you've got to wait till I return from Paris.
You don't have to go to Paris to get rid of me. Just tell me. I'm tired of you, Marion. Thanks for all those marvelous ideas. Now get out of my life. Well, why don't you just tell me to get out?
Please. The others will hear you.
Please, the others will hear you. What do I care if they hear me or not? It's time they knew I designed those gowns. I am not leaving this place until you tell me to.
All right, Marion, but you've got to give me a few hours.
Excuse me. 6:20. You'll be late for your appointment.
Thanks, Miss Webster. Please, Marion.
I'll be waiting to hear from you.
Good night, Mr. Pinkley.
In California to address a graduating class of law students. The subject was a favorite of mine, the dangers of circumstantial evidence. After describing several cases where such evidence had unjustly convicted an innocent person, I'd concluded my remarks, thanked Judge Andrews for the privilege of addressing the young men, and was on my way back to the airport.
Mr. Maris? Yes. Judge Andrews said I should speak to you.
Oh, you one of his students?
Yes, sir. Bob Green.
Bob, nice to see you.
I'll graduate in 2 years. That is, if I don't have to drop out this semester.
You don't sound as though you want to drop out.
Well, sir, I don't want to drop out. But I'll do anything that'll help my sister. You see, if her case comes to trial, I won't have time for school. I'll be an important witness. You see, she's been arrested for the Harvey Pinkley murder. But she was at home with me the night he was killed.
Well, then why are they holding her?
Well, you see, about 10:30, the phone rang.
Why don't we sit down, huh?
About 10:30, the phone rang. It was Pinkley. He asked Marion to come down to the shop. Said he wanted to apologize for some quarrel they had that afternoon.
She went?
Yes, but she wasn't angry. And she wouldn't have gone. She wouldn't even have known Pinkley was in the shop if he hadn't called. Anyway, when she got there, he was dead.
Have you told all this to the police?
Sure, we both have. They just think we dreamed it up as some kind of an alibi. Besides, too many people heard Marion threaten him because of these. Her design she did for Pinkley. I guess you know he was one of the top designers in the country. But 3 weeks ago, when the new Pinkley-Paulson line of dresses came out, Marion had designed them all, and Pinkley got all the credit. Marion didn't want any extra money. She just wanted to make kind of a reputation on her own.
Well, what'd she do after she found him?
Well, I guess she panicked. She just got out of there as fast as she could.
Did anyone see her?
Mrs. Carlton, a wardrobe woman.
Bob, I'd like to help you, but unfortunately, I have an appointment at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, 3,000 miles from here.
Mr. Maris, I just heard your speech in the wings. All those cases you cited about people being unjustly convicted and sentenced on the basis of circumstantial evidence because of inadequate or badly handled defenses, I don't want that to happen to my sister.
Bob, you plead a very good case. All right. Where's the nearest telegraph office? I'll postpone that appointment.
Come on, I'll show you.
After notifying my office and the court of my delay, I paid a visit to the accused.
But, Mr. Maris, my brother was telling you the truth.
I'd like to hear you tell me exactly what Harvey had to say on the phone that night.
Well, Harvey said he had written a letter to the trade papers giving me full credit for my work. He said he wanted to see me then because he was leaving for Europe early the next morning.
So you went down to the shop and found the body?
Yes.
Did he have any enemies?
What successful man hasn't? But none of them would have wanted to.
What is it?
Something Harvey told me when we first started dating.
Yes?
But it seems his first shop had burned to the ground. One of his employees, a pattern cutter, had been trapped in the fire. Harvey was arrested on suspicion of arson, but he was never brought to trial because of lack of evidence.
Go on.
Well, the pattern cutter's wife really believed that Harvey had set the fire. She threatened him.
Did he tell you what her name was?
No. But it shouldn't be too hard for you to find. It happened about 10 years ago in your hometown. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Maris. It's very presumptuous of me. You haven't even said you'd take my case yet. There's no reason why you should. All you have is my word.
On the contrary, there's a very good reason. I believe you're innocent.
Thank you.
Out in California, huh? Well, I should have known. What's the matter, Herb? Aren't there any good lawyers out there?
Hundreds of them.
Yes, I know, but you're the only one that's convinced she's innocent.
How'd you guess? Now, what about that fire?
Well, the case is still open. They haven't determined the cause of the fire yet.
I see. John, a woman whose husband was killed in that fire threatened Pinkley. Could you try and locate her?
Okay, Herb. I'll take it out and call you right back.
Better make it tomorrow. I'm on my way to see Harvey Pinkley's partner, Bruce Paulson.
Good.
Betty, a moment. The material in this gown is only $65 the yard. Well, you can't afford not to have it. All right, Betty. And you must see the cape that was created to be worn over that gown. Millie, will you mind? Excuse me a moment, my dear. Sorry, Mr. Maris.
I understand. Customers first.
Indeed. Ever since Harvey's murder and Miss Green's claim that she designed this year's lines, we haven't done enough business to pay the light bill.
Were you aware of the fact that Miss Green was doing all of Pinkley's work?
My dear Mr. Maris, every designer in the country employs people to think up ideas. But it's his designing genius that transforms these ideas into magnificent original gowns.
Then you think Miss Green's statement was...
It was a gross exaggeration. Why would Harvey entrust the work to somebody else when he was perfectly capable of doing it himself?
Can you think of anyone who might have had a strong enough motive to have killed Pinkley?
Frankly, if it wasn't Miss Green, I just don't see who could have done it. Now, is there anything else I can do to help?
Yes, I'd appreciate talking to the woman who found the body, Mrs. Carp. Is she here?
Henrietta? Well, she'd better be. Right this way, Mr. Maris.
I was tired, and I just decided it was high time I went home. I went to find Mr. Pinkley to tell him that I was leaving. Marion was standing by the counter. When she saw me, she ran away. That's when I found Mr. Pinkley lying there.
Did you or the police find a note beside the body?
No, but I was too upset. I wouldn't have noticed anyway.
Did, or could anyone else have come into the shop without being seen by you?
No, sir. And I was here all the time. I was waiting for one of the models, Betty Brown, to return with a dress that she'd worn to a cocktail party. I'm not as young as I used to be, and I need my sleep. So that's why I decided to leave.
Mrs. Carlton, in your own mind, who do you think killed Mr. Pinkley?
What? Marion Green, of course. Don't you?
It had been a long and discouraging day, and I turned in hoping that tomorrow would bring heartening news from Lieutenant Weston. But the day wasn't over.
Yes. Just a minute. I want to talk to you.
Oh, I'd know you anywhere.
Ah! Herb. Hi.
How'd you get here?
Same way you did. By jet. Say, this is a nice room. How are the beds?
I haven't had a chance to find out yet. Now, why did you come here?
Now, was that nice? I traveled 3,000 miles to see an old friend, and he asked me why.
Oh, don't give me that, John. You know as well as I do that you couldn't have come here without the chief's approval.
You know you're getting to be a regular nag. Say, this isn't bad at all.
Am I right?
Well, you stumble onto something that involves the department. The chief thought I should come out and follow it through.
Well, how nice of him. Before packing, did you try and locate that widow?
Oh, only a picture of it taken by a newspaper photographer at the time of the fire. There it is, and stories on Pinkley. Oh, and that's a picture of the lady in question. Name's Willoughby, Mary Willoughby.
She changed it. At Pinkley and Paulson's, she's known as Henrietta Carlton. The next morning, after Weston checked in with the local detectives assigned to the case, we went to the gown shop to question Mrs. Carlton.
Well, they seem to be doing a great business. You know, Herb, this is the kind that'll never give you any trouble.
You never know.
Oh, Mr. Maris, I was expecting Henrietta.
Well, isn't she here?
No, and we're all worried sick. We've scheduled a showing for noon, and if she isn't here to handle the gowns, I don't know what we'll do.
We've been trying her every 15 minutes. Hello? Is this... What? Who is this?
What is it?
This is Miss Brown at her employer's. Oh. It's the police. Henrietta's dead. She committed suicide.
I was sure Henrietta Carlton had been killed to keep her from talking, but I had no proof of this, and couldn't so testify at the coroner's inquest, where Paulson and his employees had been questioned extensively. The elderly wardrobe woman had slashed her wrists, and the verdict was suicide.
Terrible. Just terrible. Poor dear Henrietta. Why would she do it?
You've known all the time she was Mary Willoughby?
Yes, ever since we formed our partnership. Harvey felt sorry for her. She lost her husband in the fire at his shop.
Don't tell me you gave her that job because she threatened him.
The threat, as you call it, was made in anger. Harvey understood. Otherwise, he never would have had her come to the coast when we opened our shop here.
Then why did she change her name?
Well, you see, a great many people in the industry knew about the fire and her threat. We felt it would save embarrassment all around. Now, if you have no further questions, I really must get to work.
Certainly. Have you made a complete investigation of the company finances?
Are you thinking about that insurance policy? Well, they're not rolling in wealth, but up to now they've managed to stay out of the red.
Miss Webster.
Yes?
I wonder where we could find Miss Brown.
I haven't the slightest idea, Mr. Maris. She left the day after Henrietta was killed. But if you'd like to reach her, why don't you call her agent? That's Models Incorporated. They're in the book.
Thank you very much.
Why the sudden interest in Miss Brown?
There's got to be a connection between the two murders. Financial or emotional.
Well, it could be we've overlooked something in Pinkley's past, and it could be that Marion Green is guilty. The DA has a strong case against her.
I wish you'd take another close look into Pinkley's personal life.
Sure.
But first, I want to see Miss Brown. We finally located Betty Brown, working on location at Grauman's Chinese Theater. From the shop to wear to a party?
You too? I wonder how that story got started. No, I didn't. But I'm beginning to wonder.
About what?
Well, Henrietta. She asked me the same thing.
When did she ask you?
Right after you left the shop. The day before she was found dead.
Henrietta stayed in the shop the night that Pinkley was murdered, waiting for you to return a dress. If you hadn't borrowed a dress, who could have told her you had?
Well, it could have been Mr. Pinkley, or Mr. Paulson, or even Miss Webster.
I see.
Just one more question, Miss Brown. Why did you leave Pinkley and Paulson?
The best reason in the world, money. Why, I'll get paid more for one day here than they paid me in a whole month. And they pay well. Well, I have to get back to work. Lieutenant, Mr. Maris.
Miss Brown.
Oh, if you get time, give me a call. I'll show you the sights.
Oh, I'll make time.
Yeah, I'll bet you will.
Miss Webster?
You're becoming a fixture, Mr. Maris.
I'm sorry, but I'd like to see Mr. Paulson, if I may.
Well, he's out of the building. Is there anything I can do?
Perhaps you can. I was wondering how much the publicity has to do with your sales dropping.
Well, a murder never helps business. But ours was bad when that new line came in. If you ask me, Pinkley should have given Marion Green credit for designing them. Only blame is a better word.
Exactly how much does a house like this invest in a new line?
Well, the dress business is like farming. You spend everything on seed and fertilizer. And if you're lucky, the crop grows and you reap the harvest. If you're unlucky, you wake up one morning broke.
I see. Well, thank you again, Miss Webster.
Was that Mr. Maris?
Yes.
What did he want?
Well, he asked to see you, and then he asked some questions about the business, how the new line was doing.
Well, I hope you told him the truth. The waters are already muddy enough.
I tried to reach Weston and tell him what I'd learned, but he'd left police headquarters where he was digging deeper into Pinkley's personal life. I then called Pinkley and Paulson's.
Well, Mr. Maris, I was just on my way to the Coliseum where we're doing an advertising layout. If you'd care to meet me there.
Fine. Right, I'll see you in half an hour. Goodbye. Hello?
Oh, hello, Herb. Say, listen, you were right. I just left Pinkley's doctor's office. He had no intention of going to Paris or anywhere else. I'll tell you about it when I see you. Right now, I want to have a little chat with Paulson.
Well, I'm meeting him at the Coliseum in half an hour. How about meeting us there?
Good.
The others?
Oh, they finished up a few minutes ago.
Well, thank you for waiting, Mr. Paulson. I think I found the line between Mrs. Carlton's and Pinkley's murders. There are a few points I'd like to check with you first.
Really? I left my jacket down below. Tell me about it.
Well, the murder of Pinkley was planned for a long time. Motive, financial gain. The killer was positive that Mrs. Carlton would be blamed for the Pinkley murder, but to be sure, he told her to stay in the shop and wait for Betty to return a dress, which, of course, she hadn't borrowed. But Mrs. Carlton had no way of knowing this.
Go on.
Well, everything went along smoothly until Pinkley called Marion. And Marion came to the shop, was seen by Mrs. Carlton, and arrested. Later, Mrs. Carlton found that she'd been set up.
How?
She found out that Betty hadn't borrowed a dress and made the mistake of revealing this to the killer.
Naturally, that was the end of her.
Naturally.
Very interesting. I suppose there's no doubt as to the killer's identity.
I'm afraid not.
Pity. I thought I'd managed things very well.
It almost worked.
Almost doesn't count. Step in time, Mr. Maris. I'm sure you've heard the expression. You're in for a treat. A tour of the Colosseum.
Belton, drop it! Drop it, Belton! You okay?
Yeah, what'd you find out?
Harvey Pinkley was a sick man, but he wasn't sure how sick. Now, he didn't want Marion to know for fear she would give up her chances of a career to be with him.
To cover up, he told her he was going to Europe.
That's right.
Well, what about taking credit for the designs?
Well, he knew the line wasn't selling, so he wanted to take the blame himself, especially after hearing from his doctor. Oh, excuse me a minute, Herb. Nelson, you should have had more patience.
Patience?
Yes. The doctor had taken some tests, and Pinkley found out the truth just 2 hours before he was murdered. The doctor had given him at the most only 6 months to live. Take him in. Get his coat. Who's that?
An old friend.
Hi. Lieutenant.
Hi.
I brought a friend.
Oh, where is she?
Hi. And I brought a friend.